Welcome. I'm Pat Soldano, President of Family Enterprise USA. Today, I have Casey Roscoe with me, who is Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Seneca. Welcome, Casey.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about your business, your family business, Seneca. Tell us a little bit about the history and the background, how many people you employ, just a general history and background, please.
Yep, I'd love to. We were started in 1953 by my grandfather, Aaron Jones, and it started as a sawmill, but since then we've grown. So we now have about 175,000 acres of tree farm that we manage sustainably. We actually have planted almost 45 million trees. So if you were to lay those little seedlings end to end, they would cross America more than 6 times. We have sawmills, I think some of the most advanced in the nation. And then we have a biomass plant, so we can take the scraps from our milling process and use them as fuel to run our biomass plant and create enough green, sustainable electricity to power 13,000 homes here locally. And the only byproduct from that whole process is ash. And since all of our contents going into our facility are organic, the ash is certified organic, and we market it back to farmers here in the Willamette Valley. It gets tilled back into the soil in August and September every year. So our company really creates that full sustainable cycle. We're family owned, and in this generation, we are female owned. My mom and my 2 aunts are our owners.
Well, that's very exciting. And I know you work very closely with your local community. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about how you do that as a company, as family members, as employees.
Absolutely. We have been stewards of our community for generations. And there's so many things that we've done. And some of them are very public. We publicly support kids in sports and a whole entire school. We sponsor with kids sports, so any kid that wants to can play. And our hospice house here in Eugene, Oregon, we helped create that. A Seneca house for returning veterans, so they can have a little time to get their feet under them, so that they can get a down payment together for their own home and so forth. So there's so much that we do that way, but also we do so much just privately. When we had a fellow come whose brother had gone missing, and he needed money to continue the search because the search had been called off. And so we did, we funded that so that his family could have closure. We helped one of our employees with a funeral they couldn't pay for. We helped with accidents that happened to people and medical bills and things that you don't get to put your logo on or get a tax write-off for. Just true, how do we help the community? And what does that mean to be a true, honest member of this community and helpful? So we kind of run the gambit of helping in big ways, small ways, public ways, and private ways.
Well, that is just really wonderful. And the community is so lucky to have you as an organization and as a family. And of course, I love the fact that it's a woman-owned business. That's just awesome. So, as you're aware, Family Enterprise USA is an organization founded to promote family businesses and their job growth in the United States. And right now, we have some proposals from President Biden, which may in fact hurt dramatically the livelihood of families in those family businesses, as well as their employees, and also their community would suffer. So President Biden has advocated for the elimination of the step-up in basis. He's advocated for a reduction in the lifetime exemption to $1 million, an increase in the capital gains tax to an all-time high. How do you feel about this? Do you have an opinion one way or the other about this proposed legislation?
I think it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. I don't know how family businesses could continue to run in America. Because it feels so heavily weighted toward corporate. When we think about, as a family business, if the owner is to die, we would need necessarily to have 40% of the value of our company in cash upon death in order to keep going. I spoke with one business owner who said their family has bought their businesses their business about 3 times as it's gone through generations. And that is so difficult when you think about a corporation that never has to pay anything like that, and their taxes are less than ours consistently. And then on top of that, they don't owe any balloon payments at any point in time. Our system is really, really favoring the corporatization of America, this kind of nameless, faceless, anybody could be running it type of thing, as opposed to families that hold certain things sacred, that hold their community as the highest value because they live in it generationally, not just in this moment, that hold the value of their land as sacred. The soil of our land is the native soil of our Douglas fir trees, but it also feels like the native soil of our family, as we've been tending that land for generations. And not only do we know the trees on it, we know all of the big game herds on it, we know all of the pollinators on it, we know all of our water on it and what's going on with its temperature and its turbidity. That is our lifeblood. And we treat our employees, our land, and our community very different than corporations do. But what's frustrating is to feel like our government is working against us with that.
That's a really good point. As you said, family businesses plan their business as their legacy, not only to their family members, to their employees, and to their community. They plan their business for the long term, generation after generation. And one of those things that really compromises that ability to plan and to move from generation to generation is the estate tax and the gift tax and generation skipping tax, also known as the death tax. So would there be any consequences to your business, to your family, if one of your family members passed away and had to deal with the estate tax?
As it is right now, we have put a number of things in trust, and we are doing our best to understand how to deal with this situation. It's not an easy one to figure out, and the frustration is to try and understand how to figure it out so that we can simply survive. And this is an added thing that we have to figure out that no corporation has to try and figure out. And I don't know that we'll do it right. We've got one chance. So we're working on it. That's the best I can say.
Well, that's good. It is really difficult to plan around, you're right. And in fact, you have to give up control of the assets or the assets themselves in order to plan for this tax. And it's very, very difficult to mitigate it. So do you have an opinion about the fairness of the estate tax and quite frankly, maybe some of the other tax proposals that President Biden is advocating for?
Absolutely. I feel like they're completely unfair and favor corporations over people, corporations over families, corporations over what America was built on. And so to that degree, that is so frustrating. And I know at least here in Oregon, we've passed this tipping point of where more than 50% of the people here didn't grow up here. And we're having to deal with families that have generationally been here no longer being able to afford to be here, and corporations coming in and buying our companies and land. And it's so frustrating to see. And I hope at some point that there's some recognition of unintended consequences. I recognize they want more money, and that feels like an easy grab when somebody dies. But I wish there was this understanding of unintended consequences, in that family businesses can't figure out how to make it through this, and it's very difficult. And so we're sincerely corporatizing America and creating these kind of vessel entities that are businesses, as opposed to these family-run companies that have values, that have the weight of their ancestors on them and the weight of their children and grandchildren. And I think people behave very differently when they have the weight of that many others on them.
You're so right, Casey. I mean, I really, really appreciate your comments. I really appreciate what your family business is doing, not only for the community, for the nation. And I really hope that President Biden and others hear what you have to say. We really appreciate your time on this call today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.